Today I want to speak about healing warriors. What is a veteran? When you look at the Latin word vetus, it means old. I'd like to think of veterans or military veterans. They're not all old, but there are many young veterans. So I would call them experienced. I'd like to change that definition. You know, the oldest living veteran just celebrated their birthday last week, and his name is Lawrence Brooks. He's 112 years old, a World War II veteran. Can you imagine? What a long life. But there's not many left. What are the biggest problems facing veterans returning home from conflict? The majority readjust to life off the battlefields with few difficulties, but a significant number, like 44%, who've served in Iraq and Afghanistan, according to one survey, says they've had problems readjusting after their return. What about problems apart from health-related issues? In addition to health problems, some returning service members have difficulties that are much greater, such as economic or social challenges, readjusting to civilian life. According to the U.S. Census Bureau of 2017 report, we have more than 18 million veterans. About half of those veterans are enrolled in the United States Department of Veterans Affairs health care program. The depth and the breadth of challenges faced by veterans varies and are the result of complex interaction of many factors. Previous wars have demonstrated that veterans' needs peak several decades after their war service. Only 31.4% of Vietnam vets are still alive. Of the 2.7 Americans who served in Vietnam, less than 850,000 are estimated to be alive today, with the youngest American Vietnam veteran at approximately age 60 years old. That was as of November 11th, 2020. For the sake of argument, let's round off and say that 300,000 World War II vets are still alive. That is approximately 1.8% of the 16 million that we had. There's a terrible price to pay with war, and Mikhail Gorbachev said it best when he spoke at Colorado State University. He said, "We cannot win a war with tanks and bombs." And he commented that only in America could he do something like this, where he said, after answering a question about how we should take care of our land, he said, "God gave us this land, and we are responsible for taking care of it." He couldn't say that in his own country, but here in America, where Vietnam vets and others had fought for freedom, he could say that in America. According to CNET, the B-41 hydrogen bomb first deployed in September of 1960 and is the most powerful weapon ever created in the U.S., with a maximum yield of 25 megatons or equivalent to 25 million tons of TNT. It has a lethality index roughly 4,000 times greater than the type of nuclear bomb that was detonated over Japan. I think Mikhail Gorbachev had it right when he says we cannot win a war with tanks or bombs. I contend that the deadliest weapon today is our tongue. Often when leaders can't settle a debate, their lips lead us to war. We must move from debate to dialogue. Dialogue looks for solutions while debate looks for differences. If we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change. That's why we should use our words to change our situation, not to describe it. Words matter. I know what words can do to people. I've seen it in the military where GIs have slaughtered each other for the silliest arguments. I have seen it as a policeman and a detective involving domestic disputes where partners kill each other over senseless arguments. I've seen people commit suicide for a whole array of reasons, and for some, we never know why. My dad was a World War II veteran. We talked about his story when their ship was torpedoed in New Guinea and how his words saved lives. He was temporarily assigned as the radio operator for the ship that was moving troops. Suddenly he was told to radio out on the speaker, "Incoming torpedo, incoming torpedo, incoming torpedo." Everyone knew what to do, and that was to jump ship. It's the only way they can save their own lives. My dad was one of the last people to jump ship because he had to get the word out first. They floated for several hours before being rescued. I asked my dad if he wasn't ever worried about the sharks or maybe not ever being rescued. And you know what he said? I wasn't worried. I knew they would rescue us somehow or some way or another. Words matter. Basically, what my dad told me was that he must have confidence and faith and courage. Often I was a guest speaker for the Veterans Day Memorial Service in Fort Collins. I used to take my dad to listen to me speak about heroes, and of course he was one of them. When the taps were being played and the 21-gun salute was taking place, my dad would salute with a quivering hand. He had a touch of Parkinson's. And after each shot they fired, he would flinch. But he did it anyway. Then we would say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Folks, words matter. President John F. Kennedy once remarked that when written in Chinese, the word crises is composed of two characters. One represents danger and the other represents opportunity. Every crisis at the same time is an opportunity. Crises are often caused by unexpected difficulties. Even today, it's important that we rescue our wounded warriors and help them with opportunities because of the danger they experience. Post-traumatic stress is probably one of the most difficult and complicated symptoms for healthcare workers and people to deal with. When the mind has been wounded, it's a long process to heal or to learn to live with. If you break your arm, I can probably tell you that your arm will be healed within so many weeks after being embodied in a cast. But when the mind or the brain breaks, there's not a cast you can put around their head and say that your mind will be healed within weeks. This is even true with drug addiction, and it's one of the messages I used to send to kids in junior high school when I taught drug prevention. Addiction is hard to break, and we can't let it break us. Unfortunately, because of stress, many of our veterans come home with addictions of various sorts. We must be here for our wounded warriors and offer healing. It's a lifelong process. Sometimes we are criticized for the good works that we're trying to do. That's okay. Do it anyway. And sometimes we are criticized for giving too much to one organization or another. That's okay. Do it anyway. Giving is healing, and healing is giving of ourselves. And sometimes we are criticized for taking a stand for what we believe. Stand anyway for what you believe is right. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. I have spoken at many fundraisers before, and I have never asked anyone for money. I've always asked them to give with their heart because I know their wallets will fall open. I was adopted when I was 5 years old from the Colorado State Orphanage for Neglected and Dependent Children. My adopted parents said they wanted me. Folks, words matter. I didn't know, and I don't think they knew, that they were going to take me to Fort Collins to help people in the future and save a few lives through my law enforcement career, and that I was going to serve in the Vietnam conflict for my country. Nor did they realize that they were going to bring in the future mayor of Fort Collins. And I'm pretty sure they didn't know I was going to be on the board of directors for Elevations Credit Union. But they did it anyway. Why? Because they loved me during a time I was feeling rejected by others. It wasn't because of what they thought the future would behold me. And I don't think they knew I would be at their bedside the day they died to express how much I loved them. I did it anyway. You see, in the orphanage, you were lent out like a library book, and potential parents could take you home and see if they liked you or not for a couple of weeks. I could always remember riding in the front seat of their vehicle and them trying to make over me. I never remember being at their home, But I always remember riding in the back seat of the car on the way back to the orphanage and no one talking to me. I couldn't wait to get out of the vehicle, and I used to tell myself, I never want to leave this place again. This is my home. Even the Healing Warriors program is in a battleground today to fight depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic syndrome through care, love, and a commitment to serving our military veterans. That matters. Comfort matters. Treatment matters. And relationships matter. I'm not moved by what I see, but I am moved by what are in the hearts and the minds of people that want to build bridges of inclusiveness and relationships, not the walls of division and barriers. Charles Blondin was an early 19th century tightrope walker, and he was doing an amazing feat over Niagara Falls. They had strung a cable across there for him. And he saw a young boy who looked like was about 7 years old standing beside him. And he asked this young man, do you think I could walk across that cable and not fall over? And this little boy said, yes, I think you can. He said, do you think if I take this wheelbarrow with me and balance it across the cable, do you think I can make it across without dropping the wheelbarrow? He goes, yeah, I think you can. And then he said, do you think if I put somebody in that wheelbarrow and wheel them across there that we can make it across safely? He goes, yeah, I think you can. My parents have told me all about you. And he said, then get in. And that little kid disappeared. You see, that's like us. Sometimes we want others to be the ones that get in and do it, but not us. We don't want it to be us. I remember a time when I was a little kid and I was trying to figure out what a dad was, because at the orphanage you weren't taught anything about moms and dads. And finally my dad decided to take me to work with him in his pickup truck. I was probably only 5 or 6 years old, and while we were riding in this big deuce-and-a-half truck, which to me as a kid looked like a semi-truck, we were driving down the road, and all of a sudden we were making this left turn, and it was kind of a wide turn. The door on the passenger side flew open, and I started flying outside the truck. I always comment that if you can see blue sky, you know you got trouble. All of a sudden, my dad latched onto my leg. He grabbed my ankle. He pulled me inside. Somehow that door managed to close, and he tucked his arm around me, and he just kind of chuckled. And I thought to myself, that wasn't funny. But you see, all of a sudden it snapped. I suddenly realized what a dad was. This is what a father does. When you're in trouble at the last moment, he knows how to rescue you. He knows how to comfort you and put you at ease. I think this is one of the things that Healing Warriors does, and this is what we as people should do, is to pitch in and volunteer and help with Healing Warriors, to make people feel comfortable, to bring them back home and know that they're safe. I think this is imperative. Mother Teresa used to say, we can't all do great things, but we can all do small things that are great. I saw a quote by an unknown author I really like. It says, in our society today, everyone wants to be served, but no one wants to serve others. Let us be the one that serve because we want to serve, not because we have to serve. How important is that in our life today? Let me end with a poem that was attributed and founded in Mother Teresa's children's home in Calcutta, India. And here's what it says. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and your God. It never was between you and them anyway. I think without a question, Mother Teresa was a veteran of love, care, and humility. She was such an influencer in the whole world, and she made us stop and think about our words and how we can serve others. Let's do it anyway. Complaining won't do any good, so you might as well do it anyway. Lou Holtz said 80% of the people don't care about your complaints, and 20% are glad it happened to you anyway. It's up to us to roll up our sleeves and say and do what is right. Do it anyway, and know that words matter.